I'm the Commissar, and we're back watching Forged Alliance Forever, and you guys have missed me. But fear not, we're back on our regular weekly schedule, and you've sent me an awful lot of games to watch while I've been away. I promise I will watch them all, and you're going to see many of them here, of course. This one is the first. This is a ladder game, and many of my viewers will know what they're looking at. For those who are new, a ladder game looks like this. It's got a hot team, it's got a cold team, and because it's 3v3 ladder, we are, as always, on a generated map. Let's meet the hot team first. In orange, at the front, this is Ilmir. He's 1301 rated, and he's Eon. To his right, in red, this is none other than GeneralKnowledge. We're going to call him Knowledge. He's 1117 rated and Cybran. And last but not least for Hot Team, at the back in Burgundy, we have Bombardirovshcik, who is UEF and he's 1256 rated. And facing off against them on the cold team, at the front, we have TMoS. Perhaps it stands for the Ministry of Sound. Perhaps it stands for the Man of Steel. Perhaps it stands for the Mysteries of Science. I don't know. We're going to call him TMoS because that's easier. Either way, he's 1370 rated in Mauve, and he's playing as the UEF. Next to him, this is I, who I'm going to call Morak. He's 985 rated, and he's Eon in baby blue. And last but not least, in the air position at the back and playing in dark blue, this is Crackberry, who is 1205 rated and Cybran. Now, we have a generated map, and it's got some plateaus, and all the reclaim for people to grab is on or near the plateaus. So that's going to be pretty interesting, but the plateaus aren't everything, but they do have some mass points, because there's this nice heap of mexes in the middle, over which our players are going to be able to fight. So that's going to be good fun. I'm not seeing any super early aggression just yet. Possibly the most aggressive move we have here is Morak, who's heading out. I think he's going to pick up these mexes first, but if his com's coming all the way out here, I expect we're going to see an edge build up onto the plateau. He's going to have to be quick about it though, because I would be amazed if we didn't see something like this. We have a transport under construction from Ilmir, and I'm very sure it's going to go for an early plateau drop. Have we got any other? Yes, we have. Look, we can see a transport being loaded up quite a bit from Crack here. He's got a full load, 6 engineers on board, and he's going for this plateau. So this should get him set up very well. And there isn't really much to contest it. Here's Ilmir's single engineer coming out of this plateau. Is he going to go straight for a factory? No, he's just going for reclaim. I don't think I like that, because as we expected, Morak is coming here, going for the edge build, and he's going to be able to get a factory up before Ilmir does. Not only does the com build at the rate of 2 engineers, but this NG hasn't even started on his factory. Over here we see that Crack is worried that his opponent is dropping, and so he's got a bomber patrolling the area. But we're not seeing a drop from Knowledge just yet. He's not going to contest it, and so the bomber moves on, takes out an engineer, which is nice, although these mexes have all been picked up, and I think the bomber is going down to that Inti. However, Knowledge's bomber doesn't try the same thing, because these could have been a delicious pickup for Knowledge. Instead, he heads straight on this way and gets shot down by Crack's Inti. Now, Ilmir has sent a lot more NGs, and he has dropped this factory right here. Morax has finished first, but Ilmir is immediately going for a second. He wants this plateau, and I don't blame him. And he might also be able to lock down this factory with this Tech 1 bomber, which has been spotted. It's been pung. And immediately an anti-air turret is started, but it's not finished because the bomber takes it out. However, Morvok's still got his comm in the area, and he can try and put it up. So that could help him out. However, the bomber is not done and dusted yet, but the turret goes up. It does get the NG, but it's going to die, as not only does the turret go up, but there's a bunch of inties from Crack. However, we have the first tanks on the plateau out from Ilmir's factories, so Morvok is not out of the woods yet. Meanwhile, Ilmir is getting gun. It looks like he's going to go aggressive, and I don't blame him one little bit. The map is 10 by 10, so it's not the largest of maps, and with the comms all across the front line like this, it's going to be important to have a tough comm. Knowledge is trying a little sneak attack around here with these couple of mantis, and I think he will get some of this little area taken out. The radar is a nice pickup because it will stop Colour Team seeing anything more coming in, so is the NG. Will they be able to take out this mix though? What are they shooting? Oh, they're shooting an as yet unconstructed point defense. They should have focused that mix. I don't think that mix is now going to go down because TMoS has sent a bunch of strikers to come and just kill the little mantis bots. And the mix with only 25 hit points stays up, but look at that. It's Cybran, so it regenerates. Rude, huh? Back up to the plateau base for Morvok. There is now point defense on it and a second factory going up for Morvok, but that point defense is going to be useless against T1 Arty, which Ilmir is sending in to just bombard this land factory and shut it down. And of course it can't produce anything because anything it starts building is just hit by the Arty shells. So it's a good play from Ilmir, but a second factory is up for Morvok, and this little lab can run around shooting the Arty and easily dodging its shots. This could get a lot of work done. It's already taken out one of them. It's already taken out two of them. This lab is really getting work done. But Morvok's got to keep it moving if he doesn't want to lose it. Still, that's 3 kits and a veterancy for that lab, and I don't hate it at all. More labs engaging from Crack over here, but there's a load of tanks in defense from Knowledge, so that's not going to get him anything, really. Meanwhile, the Arties have taken down these factories, but Morvok's just edge-built another one. However, I think there's enough coming in from Ilmir, who now has 3 factories producing, that it's just a matter of time before Morvok is evicted, and meanwhile Ilmir's had engineers out here getting the eco, both mixes and reclaim, from the plateau, so I think that anything more that Morvok spends here is just wasted mass, and he's not going to get anything done with it. His factory goes down. Is he going to start another one? Well, he unqueues it. He's not going to start another one. He has been evicted from this plateau. Meanwhile, we have a push of tanks from Knowledge again coming down the right-hand flank. And this time we might get a little more done than the tool we saw earlier, because this is all NGs, mexes and radars. There's nothing to stop this many tanks. TMoS is going to be forced to pull back this army, but I don't know if that's going to hurt him much because Ilmir isn't attacking. In fact, he's putting up point defense. Ilmir's got gun. In fact, he's got the extra range on the gun that you can get as Eon. So what he really needs to be doing is walking in here now and shooting up TMoS, while TMoS's tanks are down here blocking General Knowledge's attack, which has taken out a radar, a mech and some NGs, but there's enough tanks in here that it's going to be repelled before it gets any more damage done, and there's also this point defense. But Ilmir has gone in. Morvok's trying to fly a transport of labs in as a ghetto gunship to help. It gets a couple of shots off, but there's enough anti-air, both ground and air-based, to just shoot it down, and immediately Ilmir's NG starts eating it, which is nice. However, Ilmir feels like he hasn't got enough to push, And there's a little point defense going up on the other side as well. Morak also going for the gun upgrades, but Ilmir thinking of coming forward again. He does need to be more aggressive. He's invested in this gun comm. He needs to use it while it's still early enough for a gun comm to matter. And he's getting some shots off. TMoS does advance and pops off a few tanks with his gun, but TMoS is under fire from the Eon comm, who outranges him. And so TMoS is down into the yellow, and Knowledge is bringing a decent heap of tanks. TMoS could have trouble, but we do have Corsairs being produced here by Crack. How's Bombard doing? Well, Bombard is at T2, but he's immediately going for T3. So that will be an air advantage when he gets it, but for now, those Corsairs could make the difference. And Ilmir is trying to do his work, but this is a 3 Corsairs as well as a gun comm, and Ilmir might be in a little bit of trouble. There are a few inties for Ilmir, but Crack is supporting with inties of his own. And Ilmir is falling back. He's deep into the red. Will the Corsairs just be able to get him? Knowledge also brings in inties, but I don't think it's going to be enough. There's just 600 hit points left on Ilmir. The Corsairs are being focused. 700 hit points left. Another round goes off, and he's back down to 600. Boom! I thought he was going to escape, but no. Ilmir is going down, defeated by Crack in a rush of Corsairs at the 11-minute mark. However, TMoS is not out of the woods just yet, because this is a lot of spam from Knowledge, and his comms in there with the gun, and TMoS doesn't really have enough to fight back. Morak might distract Knowledge or Bombard, who's also brought his comm up and renamed his comm, apparently, but he's Bombard. He's not Amarenon, as he's chosen to call himself down there in the bottom left, as we can see. He's got gun too, so Morak's going to have to be careful. However, Knowledge is just going to push on in. Now this may be unwise with 2 gun comms behind him and Morak producing a decent amount of spam. And if I were Knowledge, I would try to retreat at this point. I would not want to keep pushing. A lot of labs in defense from Morak. I've seen more lab play recently than I used to, and I don't know whether I like it, but in this case it seems to be getting the job done, because Knowledge is suddenly all on his own amidst an awful lot of T1 spam, and there's also T2 point defenses. Knowledge could be in trouble. He's surrounded there, and there's still this T2 point defense firing at him. He needs to get out of there, and he needs to get out of there fast. And he's got the gun, and did you see that veterancy getting him a beautiful, well, a beautiful heap of health, I guess. If only all medical care were that easy, but he's still under pressure, and he's still being attacked by the spam. 3,000 hit points left. He's falling back. He's bringing this spam into support, but will it be in time as he goes into the red? 900 hit points left. 500. He might not make it out. 100. Boom! General Knowledge is our second ejection at just 13 minutes, and suddenly Bombardirovshcik is left all on his own, fighting against 3 enemy forces, and all of whom are, you know, still at decent strength. We've got 2 gun comms coming in on his comm. He's got to fall back. But he has got T3 air, but then so does Crack. Crack's also got T3 air. He's got to have they both got power? Yes, they have. So they are in very similar situations air-wise. This is a cheeky little beachhead here from Crack. He's put up a T2 point defense and a radar and a bit of other defenses. It's taken a few hits, but that will be a nice place to expand from if he's able to keep the engineer there. Meanwhile, Morak pushes forward, and to be fair, Knowledge did take out these mexes for Cold Team, but it looks like Morak's about to repay the favour on these mexes for against Hot Team. And they're about even en masse, with Bombard just the tiniest bit ahead. However, Bombard has switched to T3 gunships, broadswords, And I expect he's doing that because... What's happened to my hotkey? That is just electoral there. There we go. He's got 6 ASFs compared to Crack with only 2. So he's definitely got the air lead, and that means that these broadswords will have essentially a free run, and they're just going straight for Morak. I think Morak might be in a little bit of trouble, and we can see broadsword fire raining down on him. And in comes the air defense, but there's just more air defense from Bombard. Morak is not getting out of this. Pop. Boom. Down he goes. So, from 3-1 down, Bombard begins slightly evening the odds, and he goes straight on towards TMoS. However, TMoS saw that happening, and he immediately flung up lines of flak. As the lines of flak are being targeted, but they're shooting at the broadswords, and while the broadswords are dealing with those, in comes ASFs from Crack. And the flak will be enough to defend TMoS. The broadsword flies away. So that was almost a second kill, levelling the playing field for Bombard, but not quite. Now, obviously Bombard has to handle the ground as well, and he's doing that with Obsidians. Obsidians are a great T2 unit with their shield generators. If they have a downside, it's their slow rate of fire. But while Colour Team are going to be pouring all their attention into dealing with the broadswords, which they aren't in a position to stop yet, that will mean that the Obsidians don't have as much countering them. Though they're not great against T1 spam due to their slow rate of fire, and if I were Bombard, I would prefer Blazes in this position. However, he's getting the damage done. He's got to be careful though, where are his ASFs, because now these ASFs from Crack are getting free kills. Bombard is massing lab pressure here, which is interesting. We'll see if he's able to do anything about it. But these broadswords are losses he can't afford to take. And they're leaving Reclaim where these factories can just pump engineers in there. But I mentioned those Obsidians, and the broadswords have enough damage that now Colour Team don't have an answer to these Obsidians. So they're just sitting here popping T2 mixers and factories like nobody's business. And suddenly we can see that Colour Team in general, and over here TMoS in particular, are lacking any real counter to what should be nothing at this stage, just a mass of T1 labs. But okay, there's a couple of T2 point defenses are going up, which you might consider overkill for labs, but they are going to get the work done. Still, the labs are killing a couple of engineers, which has probably paid for at least half of them. And very wary of that gunship threat, there are Cougar T3 anti-air tanks coming out from TMoS. We do also have T3 on the field from Bombard on the ground as well. In fact, he's got both Cybran and Eon T3, which could be nice, and he's using what's left of his T1 spam to overwhelm the position that you'll remember Crack was trying to set up here. Meanwhile, those Obsidians have got work done. They've taken out this position, they've taken out this position, and they're going on. There are Harbies now coming out from TMoS, but with their high alpha strike, out of all the T2 units, Obsidians are up there in the top ranks for dealing with T3 units like Harbies. However, now there's 2 Harbies, and there aren't enough Obsidians to make a dent. Still, they do take out another mechs. How's the eco looking? Well, despite that, Colour Team are actually 50 ahead. And TMoS is... Actually, it's Crack. Crack is ecoing like mad. He has got this plateau, of course, but you can see he's getting capped T2 mexes up on this plateau here, whereas Bombard isn't really going for the same. Bombard's still working on upgrading stuff down here, so definite eco lead for Colour Team. can they turn it into units? Can they turn it into enough? No tactical missile defense up here, says Knowledge, and he is not wrong. A shield is going up to protect the radar, but hold on, oh, that's quite funny. Look at that. If we go and look at Crack's point of view, those are tactical missile launchers, not power generators. He's putting them around the radar to make Bombard think that they're just a bunch of P-gens providing adjacency to the radar, but they're not. They're tactical missiles. That's quite clever. I like that. But Knowledge has seen it, so the ruse has failed. TMoS really doubling down on the air defense with all these Cougars. Perhaps that's an overinvestment, as we haven't seen much more coming out from Bombard. However, we have a Strat here and a Whaler gunship out from Crack. Decent ASF support, but it looks like there's more ASF from Bombard. And that bomber hasn't really got anything done as yet, and it's flying straight through the ASFs. It drops another bomb. It's going to get at least one of those mexes. It gets one of them and takes the capping, half the capping off another, but it gets shot down. Don't think it paid for itself. Meanwhile, more T1 spam massing from Bombard, but these Harpies should be more than enough to just chill through it. But we've also got an attack going on in the north. On the left, a lot of this from Bombard seems undefended, and there are some tasty mexes here that could be worth killing if these Harpies can get in there, but Bombard's bringing his own Harpies. On the right, Bombard is swarming in more spam, but these are Harpies against T1 spam. They could just take that, I'm sure, no problem. Are we going to see much eco damage? We've seen one mech killed here, but now the Harpies are taking on Bombard's Harpies, and they're just going to die. So this looks like it was going to get work done, but I don't think it's going to be as successful as TMoS might have hoped. And over here, we called it. These Harpies have just shredded the spam. It's unsurprisingly completely massacred, and these might actually go on to do some work for TMoS. However, he will have to worry about that group of Harpies coming down and counter-attacking. We've got an attempt at a forward position here with these T2NGs from TMoS, but that's quite a big swarm of labs. Oh, that's the game changer though. However, the labs aren't going to get to this position because there are Harpies coming to save the day from TMoS. However, Bombard has built a monkey, the cheapest of all experimentals. It's easy for him to make, and he needs to, because holy cow, look at that eco. 450 to 177. That's like nearly 3 times the eco for Cold Team. Where did that come from? Well, we can see here that Crack has been ecoing up like a madman, and TMoS isn't that far behind. Whereas Bombard has lost some mexes up here to the Whaler that we saw earlier, and he hasn't really teched much up. This is still T1, for example. But what good is all that eco if there's a monkey? Those Harpies we saw over here killed some mexes, snuck one on the back, but suddenly bang, there's a monkey right there. And this is quite nice. Rather than building TMD as a defense against those tactical missile launchers, Bombard just put up TMLs of his own. Okay, now he's putting up TMD, but he's fighting fire with fire, and that tactical missile defense might go up just in time, but no. This shot is coming over here. It's going to get a mech which, looking at the eco, Bombard can ill afford to lose. Boom. But that one was T3. And it doesn't go down. Oof. However, more tactical missiles are flying out left, right and centre, but the monkey has been seen. Huge amounts of T3, Perseverers, excellent counter to experimentals and Titans. Less excellent, but you know, every little helps. From TMoS. And he really needs to stop that monkey. It's coming in mainly unsupported, though there's these units over here, which Bombard is bringing across to support. And with the position of TMoS being quite static, if he goes and counters the monkey, he might kill it. But he's going to have more of a problem if this swarm of Harpies get in there. That said, there's more Harpies and more Persies coming across from TMoS here. So we're about to see a pretty big fight. Meanwhile, Bombard has lost these mexes to the tactical missile launchers, so now we're at 430 to 160. That's amazing. However, big fight. In comes the monkey. And look at the firepower of those Persies. Look at the firepower of everything. But in come the Harpies in support. Still, the monkey is taking damage. And it's into the red. Only 10,000 hit points left. 6,000, 4,000. Is the monkey going down? No, it gets a rank of veterancy, crucially. And suddenly everything's dead. My dudes, you have so much eco. Make an experimenter, make a monkey, make an anything. You need to stop this attack. But what's he doing? He's just... I don't think he can stop this monkey. He really, really needs to turn something here into an experimenter, and he needs to do it right now. But as it is, despite being so massively outcompeted in eco, this monkey is just coming in. .300 eco lead. It's mad. But the one gunship that Crack is able to get out in defense just gets shot down by the horde of Inties. TMoS's UEF. Surely some Ravagers would help. Where are these guys going? They're building T3 power. Does TMoS need T3 power? Okay, he needs a bit more power, but more importantly, he needs Ravagers. He needs Ravagers, and he needs them now, preferably somewhere around here. And my dear viewers, let this be a salutary lesson to you in not over-investing in eco. All the eco in the world will do you no good if you can't convert it into something to stop a monkey that's just walking into your base. Here it comes. TMoS is trying to run. I think Crack is resigned to his fate. He backs... Nope. He's had it. And TMoS recalls and follows suit. Bombard and Hot Team win the game. That's what you get if you eco too hard, my dudes. A cautionary tale indeed. You can build all the eco you like, but if you don't spend it and stop just one little monkey lord getting through, then boom, you're dead. Tell me in the comments below about times when you've overbuilt eco and underbuilt units. Tell me how you think Cold Team could have won. While you're down there, don't forget to like, subscribe, and obey. I'm the Commissar. I will see you next time.